Now in this lecture, we're going to show you how Comet can natively deal with Google Docs. Any documents you have in Google Docs, whether it's a Word document or whether it's a spreadsheet or whatever, Comet can handle it natively. Okay, so we can do one-click summaries. So when viewing a Google Doc in Comet, you can click on a built-in Summarize button. We're going to see that in just a minute. In fact, I brought up, well, these are all of my Google Docs over the years. I don't use it all that heavily. I used to use it more than I do now, but I've got OneDrive, and so I use OneDrive far more than I use Google Docs. But I know a lot of you use Google Docs, and it's used heavily in some corporations. So I want to do a thorough coverage of how Comet can handle any sort of Google Doc document. So we can do one-click summaries. In fact, let me bring this up. I've got an old employment agreement that I signed, or that was given to me many years ago. In fact, I can see right now it's over 5 years ago that I did some work as a consultant for Fountain Group. They sent me this at-will employment agreement. Now, of course, back in that day, AI really wasn't anything. I mean, you heard about AI, but not in the sense that you hear about it today. And so, I had to read through this and try to understand it. And of course, lawyers write it. And and that makes it hard to understand. Well, now with tools like Comet and Perplexity, dealing with an at-will employment agreement like this is much simpler to deal with. And you can see now that unlike PDFs, we have some options. So suggest follow-up sections, find mistakes, incorrect data, propose wording improvements, extract action items, identify key items, and so on. Okay, so we can do one-click summaries, like we can do a one-click on one of these. It's context aware, so the browser accesses the full content. So basically a summary of this, just like it would with a PDF, accounts for the headers and sections and lists and tables and formatting. And so you're not limited to just plain text or having to export this first. Now, there's other things that we can do here. We're going to explore some of these, but you can do interactive queries, much like you can with a PDF. So after you do some sort of initial summary, you can ask Comet to, with further instructions such as expand on point 2, term of employment. So I could reference point 2, I could reference a term of employment, and so it understands the context and can answer or extract information based on follow-up questions, just like it can with PDFs or other types of documents. Now, there's a native integration between Comet and Google Docs, not just Word docs or not just Excel. It's basically Google Docs as a whole. So Comet can locate and access specific Google Docs within your Google Drive. So I could say, well, summarize a document called 2025 Market Analysis, and it will navigate your drive, find that document, and summarize it. Now, something else we could do is we could have Comet actually summarize 2 documents at one time. And I remember doing this. I remember going to work for some company. They sent me an employment agreement, and I didn't like the restrictions in it. And I told them that, and they made some modifications. At least they claimed they did. They actually did, and I agreed to it. But would be useful to have Comet say, hey, compare this document with this document and highlight the differences so that I can actually see that the requests that I made for the modifications were actually made. So this is another thing that Comet can do. All right, now the first thing that I might want to do, if I were given a document like this in Google Docs, I might want to have it summarize this for me as someone who is not an attorney. I'm not going to click on any one of these. I am going to say, summarize this for me and assume I'm not an attorney, and I have a hard time understanding documents like this. Okay, so summarize this for me and assume I'm not an attorney. That's good. And I have a hard time understanding documents like this. Let's add one more thing. Keep it Simple. All right, let's see what it comes up with. And I'm going to keep this running so that you can see what it's doing. This might be hung up again. I think it is. Well, this seems to be happening a lot. This happens with Perplexity, but not this often. So, all right, I am going to stop this and then reload it. Okay, so I reloaded it, submitted the prompt again, and here is a simple summary of your at-will employment agreement. Okay, you were being hired by the Fountain Group as a temporary worker to work as a BI developer for their client Ally in Detroit. Okay, I do remember that, even though that was a while ago. At will, your job is at will. Okay, this means that you can end your job at any time, no conflicts, time tracking, job restrictions afterwards for 180 days. After your assignment ends, you cannot work directly for Ally or anyone Ally had you work with. Okay, so pretty much a standard employment agreement. All right, now I'm going to ask a follow-up question. Is there anything in this agreement I should be concerned about? Now, I'm not telling it what exactly that means. I'm going to let Comet, or Perplexity actually, or whatever AI model processes this, determine what that means, and I'm kind of curious to see what it comes back with. So is there anything in this agreement I should be concerned about? Let's fire this off. Good, it's not hung up. Here are the main things in this agreement you should pay attention to. At-will status, okay? Absolutely. They can terminate it anytime. I can terminate it anytime. Employment is not guaranteed. Your job only starts if the client approves. All right, that's important to know. No conflicts allowed. You must not be breaking any prior agreements. Strict timekeeping. You're required to report your hours each week. Fine. And then this non-compete clause. Now that might give me a little pause for concern, and I'm not even sure these are enforceable in court, at least in the United States. So the main concern, the restrictive covenant, non-compete, may make it hard to take another job. And that's good to know. Okay, so that's good to know that in this agreement, I've got to agree to a non-compete. Okay, so that's good. That's a good summary of something that I should be aware of in this document. Okay, now we're going to have Comet create a document for us. And so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say create a new document titled The Great Depression, and the document should contain a summary of the Great Depression that occurred in the United States in the late 1920s. Let's spell that correctly. Okay, create a new document titled The Great Depression, and the document should contain a summary of the Great Depression. Actually contain, instead of a summary, let's just do this. Contain research, let's see what it comes up with, which contains research of the Great Depression that occurred in the United States in the, not the last 1920s, the late 1920s. All right, now let's see what it comes up with. Preparing to generate a new document with the specified title, blah, 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 good. Right, I'm going to leave this working unless it takes too long so you can see what it's doing. Okay, create a new Google document. I can see that Google Docs is already open. Now, it doesn't have to be open. I happen to have it open, obviously, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, the document has been, okay, it looks like it's working on it. And I suspect now, I don't know, I didn't actually rehearse this part, so I don't know if it's going to load it when it's done, or I have to go find it when it's done. We'll see in a minute when it actually completes its work. And now notice you can scroll through this. And it's still working. All right, I'm going to pause this and come back when it's complete. Okay, this is done. Now, it says a new Google document titled The Great Depression has been created, containing comprehensive research about the Great Depression in the United States during the late 20s and the 1930s. And then it shows what the document includes. An overview, detailed sections. Now, let's see where it is. Did it put it at the end? No, it didn't. Let's see. Maybe it's at the top. Ah, the Great Depression. There it is. Let's go ahead and load this. Now, this is for me, this is really exciting. The fact that you can, I mean, I almost wish I was back in college again and could use this to do all the various research papers that I had to do. Of course, that's a major problem in a lot of colleges, is the fact that students are relying on this kind of thing instead of doing their own research. But this is what it created, the Great Depression, titled it exactly the way I wanted it titled, the Great Depression overview, the causes, the effects, the social impact, the economic impact. This looks really good. Now, it's not particularly long. You could easily create 20 or 30 or 40 pages. And I suppose I could have said create at least a 5-page summary of the Great Depression. I didn't tell it exactly what I wanted. But this, I think, is a nice effort at creating a document and could easily save somebody a great deal of work.